John and Katie can see it later. And we are on. So why don't you start by telling us your name, age, and location?
So I am RT or Ryan. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I currently go to school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm a 19-year-old, almost 20-year old pharmacy student,
Cool.
hoping to eventually get into marketing and business. But I currently work as a teacher slash camp counselor.
Cool. Is that like that's for the summer or like?
Yeah, for the next 7 weeks.
Okay, cool. And that's in Philly?
Yeah.
Philly-ish area?
Northeast Philly, yeah.
Okay, cool. So the hardest question you'll get today, have you played an org or any other form of Survivor? And if so, how did you do?
So I've had a rocky patch of orgs. So I started off, I found them through Reddit and I got right into the Discord community. And I played those for about 2 years. And I hopped down from community to community and became like a pretty well-known name solely for just absolutely dominating the crappy app challenges that they do in all those games. And unfortunately, it reached a point where I would just get voted off starting a game, like just because people knew I could do challenges. And so I got real sick of it real fast. And I saw Power advertising on the same Reddit that I found Discord games on. So I'm just like, all right, this is a great change of pace. I've always wanted to show I could be social. Skype games is the perfect thing to test that. So I played Power. No more success than I did in Discord games. I sent myself to rocks at Final 15 against my 2 closest allies, and went home because of it.
You drew the rock.
I played Endure as my second Skype game and completely misread a tribe, overplayed on the first vote, wasted all my social capital, and finished that at, I think, 20th. I like to forget the number for that one. I don't like to, I try to avoid talking about
I understand that. Okay, cool. I found orgs through Reddit too.
Okay, awesome.
But it was like 4 years ago now. So, yeah, I just saw like a random advertisement one summer when I was living like on my own in Louisiana, and I was like, I need something to do for the next 3 months.
Oh, that's why I love them. I like relaxing during the summer because I overwork myself during the school year.
Sure.
So like this is like I still feel like I'm doing something, even if I'm talking to someone from like Arkansas. I'm just like,
right.
All right, awesome.
No, I get that. That's cool. So RT, you're struggling. What are you going to do differently in Conquest? What's it going to take?
That's a really good question.
How are you going to redeem Power and Endure?
So despite Power, I always joke that I did that to myself. It was a voluntary decision. I didn't do anything wrong in that game, and I genuinely believe that. Like I started off really well socially there, but I think despite doing awfully in Endure, it was partially returnee seasons there.
Sure.
So I think I learned a lot from seeing these players that ended up backstabbing me at the beginning, but I learned just how well to play. So people like, I'm just going to start name dropping people. So Taste St. Louis, the biggest strategy I took from her that I'd love to incorporate into a game is she is so good at just listening. And I've always like found myself like being like an overbearing, like talkative person, like pushing a strategy. Like I made a majority lines night 1 after everyone left the call, and there were 3 people plus me left in Power. But I think what I took away from St. Louis is if anyone tells you a plan, you just listen to it. And she was so good. If I would just be like, oh yeah, let's wait out this person, and she would like go with it and then build onto it and like add all this more. Like she made it feel like she was 100% on your plan, 100% with you. Then she'd go to the next person and be like, yeah, this plan's awesome too. And it'd be like a completely different one. So I think what I've learned to appreciate is that you need to keep your windows open, and you can do that still without being overbearing and pushing a plan. So instead of trying to drive my one option like I've done in my past 2 games, I think what I most want to do, and I think what I most learned is that if you play your cards right, you can get that option plus 6 others, depending on how many are on your tribe. Sure. And I think I haven't realized it until after I've lost very early twice that's the best position to be in.
Cool. So if you had to choose between friendship and winning, which would you choose and why?
Oh well, that's it's tough seeing how far away I've gotten from winning so many times. But I mean, obviously, I play these games to win them, and that sounds so cliche. But I mean, I don't like challenge my friend to a board game just to sit there and play the board game. Like, you play it to win, and I find these games the same way. While I may be playing them with people that I like and people that I get along with, I still want to kick their ass in the end, and I'll
Yeah.
get rid of them. I'll get rid of them, or buy Boardwalk halfway through just to screw them over if it helps me winning. Um, I've seen the ability to make friends in it, and I value that in these games. But that's more just like a side path that I veered down partially the way through, and like the overall goal of kicking ass and taking names.
Cool. So, which aspect, I feel like I know the answer to this based on some of your other answers, but which aspect do you feel like you excel the most at in the game of Survivor? Social, strategy, or challenges?
So it's definitely not challenges, and my brain wants me to say strategic, but I think I'm naturally a very social person.
That's what I thought you were
Um, I like to consider myself, I don't want to say archetypes, but like I fit under a lot of names. So I think with my night one in a lot of these games or like early in the games, people immediately start to classify people into groups. So, oh, the bros are working together, or the gays are working together, or the girls are working. Like it's immediately in everyone's first mind. They want to classify people up, or like the nerds or the douchebags or whatever. But like I feel like I'm able to talk about and I'm able to fit in so many of those different classifications that it allows me to be very well rounded socially and like communicating with almost anyone on a tribe. Like sometimes I get in my own head where like I might like a different group of people and I kind of like don't give the other people enough credit, but I'm I really good at like holding a conversation about pretty much anything. So if someone likes a board game that I've never played before, I can usually bullshit myself for a good like 20 minutes just by me like pulling up the Wikipedia page and I'm just like,
Sure.
oh yeah, I always play the thimble in that game. Like I love like I can carry a conversation really well, and I've seen in the past two games that night one I'm very frequently a person that people are listing as someone they really like, and that's before I blow all my capital in like the third night. But
Sure. Cool. What would you say is the biggest move that you've made in a game?
oh, I
Whether or not it worked out for you.
although it didn't work,
Okay.
the move that
Totally fine.
constantly stands out is that final 15 tribal in power. And I could talk for hours about it, but I'll try to keep it short. So on my starting tribe, I had that small, that tight group of four. We talked strategy every vote, voted together. Like we would be on calls for like an hour and a half before, like every night, every morning, talking game. And I ended up having a twist where like I would get leaves or like points every round, which let me eventually draft the SWAT tribes.
Yeah.
And I got my two closest allies from that four on my tribe, plus three from another tribe, and two from the tribe that hadn't lost them. They only lost one immunity challenge, so they were a majority tribe coming into the swap. And the six of us, the others, grouped up.
Oh, Ryan, I lost you.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I got a Skype call for
Oh, you're good.
something else. But so the six of us teamed up. They're like, all right, we have an easy option here. Let's get rid of one of those two. They'll be screwed. We'll be fine. We have two free votes. And it was set until an hour before tribal. And then my two allies completely just disrespect anything that, like my thoughts, what I think about things. Like they tell me, all right, yeah, fine, we'll go with that plan, but let's go in and tell the other ones so they're not blindsided. And I get pulled into that call and they immediately go, so RT, we're not doing that plan anymore, right? And I'm like, what? What the fuck? Like, you don't put me on the spot like that. So I immediately went to the other three, pulled them all into a call probably 20 minutes before tribal. I'm like, listen, whatever you thought's happening is not happening anymore. And I managed to pull three people that I had only known for about half a day at this point to turn against what they thought was a solid plan with people that they really liked. And we ended up tying the vote after even switching a vote mid-tribal because of an idle threat from someone else. So I made it. I flipped 3 people in majority lines to tie the vote, successfully dodged an idle play, and then I also saved my idol in my pocket in case one of my new allies went home at the rocks. So I had this whole game plan lined up until I let my roommate pick the number rock I was picking. He picked 4, and then of course with my luck, it was the purple one. But I feel like if that had worked where one of the other 4 that I was against went home, I would have been set with allies that were in debt to me for at least a few votes.
Man.
Again, that's the too long didn't read.
Right. But no, I mean, that was a good summary. Okay, so looking at kind of what has and has not worked for you your first couple times around, what is your game plan for the first 3 days of the game?
Yeah, so for in like a base sense, absolutely nothing that I've done in the past 2 games. In the past 2 games, I immediately get caught up in some twist always grabs my attention. So whether it be like the leaves that put you in power or endure like everyone ranked each other. So like I get caught up in that a lot, but I think I would stick to my strengths where obviously the night 1 call I usually stand out as like a talkative person that can carry a conversation really well, which lets me easily have interest in like one-on-one calls, which I thrive more in, where I'm pretty good at hopping around to almost everybody within 24 hours, which is the impression that you want right away. If
Sure.
you can hold a half decent conversation, even if it has no substance to it, before half the cast who's going to wait too long, you're going to be that first name in their mind. And let's say I'm the first one to call, like Matt, and then Matt talks to Steven an hour later. Matt's going to, in some way, shape, or form, bring my name up to Steven. And if they both like me, then that's a possible alliance. If they,
Sure.
as a player who's happened to me, I know how valuable even that small talk and name dropping is for other people. So I think I'd rely solely on that small talk social game the first few days.
Cool. What personality traits are you drawn to in people in these games, and what turn you off?
Oh, I've always, I don't know if it's a personality trait, but I like talking to people that will talk through a plan and are extremely open about it. So even if people hate game bots in these games, and although I don't like the term and like categorizing people as that, I feel like if someone's willing to talk to what they're thinking, or even like say the conversation that they had with someone an hour prior, and even share those little details, it's a valuable ally to have because it's even the smallest amount of trust can get you the furthest way in these games.
Sure.
So I'm immediately drawn to those people that will stick in a call with me for an hour and a half, talking through every little possibility of a vote. Like we can vote out this person with 3-2-1, or this person with 5-4, or whatever. Although those don't add up. But in terms of people that I'm not drawn to. I especially as a production member as a production member for Power, I absolutely hate just like the overdone personalities.
Okay.
Like they're selling it a little bit too much. So like if it's like the young angsty kid that vapes and just like every second he like vapes is like, oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. Like I'm vaping on call, and like they're like completely selling it as too much, or like trying to be like the ditzy idiot that like, oh, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't stand it. Like I will be in a call for like 20 minutes and just suffer and want to be out of it as soon as possible. But
I've been on calls with those kind of people before. I get it.
we all have at one point.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure. Also, do you know who won season 1 of Power?
I do not.
Me.
Oh, it was? Oh, I know.
gee.
You said Power. I thought you said Conquest. No, I do know you won season 1 of Power. Because your picture's at the bottom of the board.
Yeah, that's me. Okay, last question for you before I turn it over to any questions you have. What are we as production not going to like about you once the game begins?
Oh, jeez. I always say the same two things for this. I always say, one, I'm a real pain in the ass with, like, I like to clarify every single thing about a challenge so that if there is a loophole, which I know production's good at not allowing one, but if there's any possibility where I could, like, come up with a strategy. God, sorry.
No, you go.
If there's any possibility I can come up with a strategy for helping my tribe advance in a challenge, I'll find it.
Okay.
But the other thing that Prod would hate me for is, in both times I've played, there's been very obvious things that should happen. And the viewers get into it happening, the production members are ready for it to happen. And then my dumbass strolls along and they're like, and I'm like, you know what? No, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to do this much dumber thing that literally only makes sense in my brain and do that instead, which is extremely frustrating. And I've experienced it working with Power, how frustrating someone doing that can be.
Yep.
So I think I appreciate it more how annoying it's been for the prod teams that have had to deal with me. So
good stuff. Do you have any questions for me / us?
When does this game set to start?
July 10th.
Okay, cool.
And it'll run for right around 39 days, so should end probably the second week of August-ish.
Okay, awesome. That'll be right before I move into college, so perfect timeline. I think that's all I got.
Okay, well, I will stop the broadcast.